All right, y'all. So let's talk about Yellowjackets, season 3, episode 6, Thanksgiving, Canada. That's what it's called. So we know that the girls are in Canada, so of course that's why it's being called that. Now, one of the things we have to really start off with is Coach Ben. Of course, Coach Ben, we left him in the last episode as he's being seen as the key for them to finding their way back home. And this is the only reason that he was spared from his death sentence he had gotten after the trial, where everybody seems to think he burned down the cabin. So I think it's pretty clear to all of us that he wasn't the one that burned the cabin. So that's still something we need to find out what happened. And I'm going to talk about that because it's going to be important for the finale of this episode. So Coach is asking Natalie throughout this episode at the beginning to just kill him, to stop the suffering. He isn't eating also, so he's just pretty much just suffering there. He doesn't have his leg. His Achilles heel has been cut. So this Coach definitely not feeling good, right? So we also see that Natalie is trying to sort of juggle with this because she knows that Coach is suffering and she would love to kill him in order for the suffering to end. But if she does that, then everybody's going to get pissed because after Akila's vision and what Lottie said, they all think he is the key and the only way for them to get out. So I think that that is going to play very crucially in the next episode. We'll talk about that in a bit. In the present time, we see that Ty and Van are trying to sort of get away from everything, but Van is sort of starting to feel some type of way about Ty because she doesn't feel this is the Ty she knows. And that's a very crucial thing as well because this isn't the Ty, right? We see that this is evil Ty and the other Ty is hidden deep down as she tries to escape at one point and asks Van to help her before evil Ty comes back and takes over. So that's going to be interesting to how this all gets resolved, but it leads us more to believe Ty could be responsible for Lottie's death, right? And also another thing we do realize is that Misty meets up with one of the old cult members who says Ty did meet up with Lottie the day of her death. So it's looking more and more like it's Ty, but knowing Yellowjackets, maybe it's not. Let me know what you think. Who killed Lottie down in the comments below. We also see in the present time that Shauna finally gets the tape that she got delivered, and Cal says she had just been holding on to it, right? But Cal also is trying to find out what's on that tape. And so when Shauna goes to take the tape to Van and Ty to listen to, Cal leaves a recording phone in her purse. And of course, Shauna finds it, confronts her, and pretty much we have a big fight between the two of them. Now, on this tape, we hear some people being slaughtered, being killed, screaming in agony, and it sounds like it's in the wilderness. So I was wondering, how did they even get a tape in there, right? We're about to answer that question real quick as well. Misty's still trying to figure out what happened to Lottie. So at the beginning of the episode, she does take some of the DNA sampling to one of her friends to find out what happened. Once they get the results back, Misty can't decipher it because it's DNA. So she sends it to Walter, maybe in hopes he might be able to, even though she's not really vibing with Walter, but she still does so. At the present time, things are starting to click around with everybody about what's going on here. And I think we're about to get a very dark reveal because this tape was something that really threw me off. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be somebody being menacing or talking. I didn't expect it to come from the wilderness. So this makes me go deeper into that there are more people that survived this than we are initially expecting. But I've also seen a very wild theory online, which I got to talk about the ending before I get to that. So in the past, we see that Natalie finally does decide to kill Coach because she feels that Coach is definitely somebody who is a good person, and it's just so inhumane to keep him alive. So her and Travis make a plan where Natalie goes out to kill him as Travis keeps watch, and we see Natalie eventually does kill Coach. This infuriates the girls, but some of them are a little bit split on it as well. We see Ty as somebody who doesn't understand the anger that some of the girls have. But nonetheless, we do see Lottie come up and say that it should be Shauna now who's the leader, and Natalie's not the leader anymore. So they decide that they'll just eat Coach to not waste his body. But we do see that they also decide that Natalie will be the one to prepare Coach. This is what her punishment will be, as Shauna says. So, I mean, it's still going to be mentally draining and just break her trying to prepare Coach for dinner. But that's the punishment she gets. Eventually, they end up eating Coach that night, and then Lottie starts to have a sort of vision of sorts. Now, prior to this, Akila had a vision about a bear, and I'm wondering if that bear is going to come into play at the end of the season, maybe a bear attack or something. But Lottie starts hearing some voices, and she starts screaming and asking everybody to scream and sort of sing as well. But as soon as they start doing this, it all stops because she sees something in the corner of her eye, and it is two people that seem to be hikers, bird watchers. That's what the consensus is right now. Now, this would be great if this happened like 24 hours prior before Coach was killed and his head was on a stand. But this happens as they're eating Coach and Coach's head is just on a stand. So I don't think these survivors are going to be very like calm about all of this. And I don't think the Yellow Jackets are going to believe that they won't say what happened out there. So as we know as of now, nobody knows what they did out there with the whole like rituals and cannibalistic like things they did. But it seems that these people here are knowing now that they are doing these weird things. So I don't think these people are going to survive much. And in the next episode, we're going to see a big dilemma between the group, as we see in the new trailer that came out for the next episode, which is titled Croak, which makes me think that there are some people that are just going to die. So we see that they are deliberating. Do we get rescued now, or do we find a way to get rescued now? Because we do know that there are people coming in here, so there has to be a way to go out there. And it looks like they sort of take one of them hostage, and I think the other one maybe runs away and they're trying to find him, as we see in the teaser. There's a very wild theory I've seen online as well. I don't know if you want to believe this or not. I'm just telling you, I've seen it and I find it kind of crazy, but I also find it kind of truthful. It could be, maybe, if it's the truth. By the way, this is not my theory, and I'm not saying this is 100% correct, but I just want to throw it out there, and I want to ask you what you think. Some people believe these bird watchers are actually Walter's parents, and that Walter has shown that he has an interest towards birds, and that maybe he knows what the Yellow Jackets did now, and that's why he's sort of trying to get as close to them as possible to really find out what happened. And he is the one behind these tapes and all of this. And the reason he's like so into their lives is because he wants to really break them all down for what they did to his parents. I don't know. That's a theory out there. I saw it. I thought it was crazy, but then I thought about it and I said, you know what? Yellow Jackets is just crazy. It could happen. Let me know what you think about it, but we'll talk more about that theory in the theories videos. I need to go back and watch some of Walter's old episodes and see what he says, and I think that could potentially lead us to if that is or not his parents, and maybe more of Walter being brought up as this big bad for the Yellow Jackets. So let me know what you think about that. Maybe the bird watchers were recording when all of this was happening in order to have proof, but eventually they did meet a grisly fate and the tapes were left behind, and one of the Yellow Jackets kept the tapes. Now, a lot of what I'm thinking is maybe Misty kept the tapes, because we know she's always like trying to think steps ahead and maybe wanted to sort of keep those maybe as leverage in the future or something like that, and now somebody else has them. My other theory is that maybe Melissa kept these tapes, because I'm still holding on the belief, and I'm standing firmly on it, that Hilary Swank is playing Melissa. We're 3 episodes away from the finale and we still haven't seen Melissa, but I think we're about to see her in the next episode, because we see somebody going to Virginia. Maybe that is where Melissa is, or somebody deduces that they are there, and then we're going to see her come back. We still don't know how she was able to survive, and nobody knows. But I do want to talk about that in the next theory video, so stay tuned for that. Coach Ben's whole death, his fate, and everything truly was done masterfully. The lighting, everything, and both the acting from the actors really made that one of the most emotional moments in the whole series, and definitely one that I wasn't expecting. But it is kind of crazy to think that if Natalie maybe held off on doing this for like a day, maybe they all would have just been rescued right then and there, even Coach. And I'm curious to see how that would have played out too, because I don't know if Coach would have been like, yeah, these girls were about to like execute me and all that. So it's definitely a interesting thing to think about. Next episode, what fate the bird watchers get. Let me know what you think is going to be happening to them. If it looks like both of them are going to split up in some way, and they're eventually going to try and hunt the other one and hold the other one captive, but I for sure don't think that they're making it out. And I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic once the girls are like, some of them want to just go home and other ones want to stay to cover up their tracks. I think that's where we're going to see the split happen between the groups. Maybe one is going to be a little bit more rational and the other one's going to be a little bit more, no, I want to stay, I want to make sure everything's clean. Or maybe some of them like being out of here too, could be a thing, right? Because maybe they don't want to go back to the life they had before. That's a big theory I've always had as well. But also with the DNA that Misty finds, I think we could definitely see that it's going to connect to Sean in some way, because Walter has the hair. It just makes sense that this would all come together. Maybe Shauna didn't do it, but maybe she was with Lottie that day as well. So I think that's definitely going to open up a can of worms as well. But very, very intense last 4 episodes I think we're getting. Let me know in the comments below what you think is happening. What did you think about this episode? What do you think about the hikers and all of that? there's probably more hikers out there, right? So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they try to sort of deal with all of this and what their logic will be. But I think we're seeing the split of the two groups in the next episodes. I think the hikers aren't making it out for sure. I think they're going to become lunch or dinner. And I think that we are also going to be getting more word on who actually killed Lottie in the next episode. And I think it's going to point fingers to Shauna, but I think it's probably Ty who is really in tune with her evil side now in the wilderness. So we'll see. Anyways, let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'm currently not able to really fully record good, so excuse the audio. I'm at South by Southwest, but I will be recording a theory video back home, so stay tuned for that next week. Very excited. Cannot wait to talk more about this really great episode. Really picked up the pace, especially from the last couple of episodes we've had, but very excited to talk more Yellowjackets. Follow us for more on things you love. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.